Hello and welcome to episode number 23 of Just Chillin'. I know it's been a very, very, very long time since you last heard from us, but I am one of your hosts, Sean Hoffman.
And I'm your other very sweaty host, Andy Bell.
I am excited to talk with you today. I'm interested to see how the format of this episode goes because, like, I was sitting there thinking about it before we got on. I'm like, dude, there's no way I can sit there and walk through a checklist of the things that I
No,
saw in that episode and be like, it was really colorful. It's like, no, this is gonna go off the rails very quickly. But anyways, how are you, dude? What's like? I know it's been a while, but I know you're getting ready for vacation and stuff. Like, what's going on in Andy's world? I keep seeing your do not disturb on Discord, so like you
when
clearly
you when
busy.
you when you say it's been a while, you mean it's been 3 days.
Yes,
So it's been 3 days since we last spoke.
yes.
Okay, no worries. No, I'm good, thanks, buddy. The heat is ramping in the UK at the moment as a country and as a culture. We can't deal with it. Outside temperatures at the moment is around about 30 degrees Celsius, which I think is around about approaching, what is that in Fahrenheit? Um, it is around only in your terms, only around 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's too
However,
hot for me. That's hot.
well, as you know, I record and I work in a shed or a wooden cabin at the bottom of my garden. And the temperature in this particular room at this moment, which is the reason why you're seeing my rather rosy cheeks, is um, is 92 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's actually cooler outside than it is inside, which is interesting. But yeah, it's hot. It's good. It's just rubbish because we're not set up for it. And yes, I am getting ready for a holiday. What is it? What day is it today? Wednesday. So 5 days from now, 4 days from now, sorry, I'll be on a plane to even sunnier climes where they can cope with the heat, and we'll be on a beach doing a little bit of sailing as a family because we like our sailing. Um,
Nice.
in the amazing country of Portugal. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Apart from that, it's only been 3 days, so I don't have an awful lot to update you. So I might as well talk about what I've been watching and the news that I've picked up in one go before we get onto the main topic of discussion tonight. Um, I haven't watched an awful lot at all, apart from, if you remember last week, I think I talked to you about Lucy and I um, hammering the in-betweeners to get a little bit of fun and
Yeah,
excitement back in our lives. Yeah, we're rewatching the Derry Girls. Now, I don't know if you know the Derry Girls. Derry Girls is
I'm familiar.
basically
Yeah,
a fine. So it's a of its time comedy series about a bunch of girls that attend a Roman Catholic school in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, in inverted commas. And the comedy from it is hilarious. And it's basically a satire of the whole situation in Northern Ireland, which is purely down to religious beliefs between the Catholics and the Protestants. And it's good fun. And so we're rewatching that at the moment. Outside of that, I haven't watched anything else apart from, I would say, the second episode of the House of Dragon, where it's all kicking off again. But I don't really want to go into that at the moment. Apart from saying it's good, it's really really good. Still seems to be quite tame when it comes down to the blood and the violence. It's still quite a pedestrian, and I can only suggest that's going to be it's going to kick off at some point. Apart from that, I've done absolutely nothing in 3 days, apart from try to pretend I'm doing an awful lot of work at work, rather than really pretend I'm working and getting ready for my holiday.
nice.
What about
I have
yourself?
been. It's hot here too. It's not that hot. It was. I mean, it feels like it is. I'm in my windowless room with a fan on me currently because it's currently 78 degrees outside, but it's also 10 a.m. It looks like it's cooling up. Nope, it's gonna be hot again. Great, fantastic. Um, it's gonna be hot for the next couple of days. I should probably get the air conditioner out because we have no air conditioning in our home. Yay, house is built in the 60s. So I'm probably gonna be doing that. I've been doing a lot of putting things away after the month long not being home, and just it seems like it. Isn't it funny? I don't know if you're like this too, but when you get ready to go for a trip, it's like as much as you plan and try to pack early or whatever, it's like the last 20 minutes before you leave, it's like, we should destroy the whole house. We should open all the cabinets, pull everything out, it's like a tornado runs through. And it's like, where's that one thing I forgot? Destroy everything. And then you come home, it's like, what the hell happened in here? What happened? And so
You got
now
burgled.
it's, yeah, I got burgled by myself trying to find a fanny pack before we left. Um, so yeah, I've been trying to put all that back together. Like, what's nice is you can't really see it in my camera view because it's all like down here. You can kind of see this pile burgeoning up into my camera view a little bit. But there's just stuff everywhere. So I've been doing a lot of that. I haven't really watched anything. Have I? What have I been doing? Like, do you ever have that where you're just like, what
Mate,
have
it's
I
3 days.
literally
Don't worry
done?
about it.
No, it's like, but what have I done the last couple nights? Like, I went on a bike ride last night and watched the Acolyte. What did I do the night before? Hell, I don't know. Probably sat on Instagram or something and scrolled for way too long. Heck, I have no idea. But then watch anything else. I mean, yesterday I caught up on a ton of podcasts. It's nice to hear that, you know, most of my ideas weren't original. Great minds think alike, even though we were all wrong. Um, but yeah, it's just hot. I'm excited to have nothing on the horizon. Thinking about maybe going to the beach this weekend.
Nice.
That'd be cool. If you like sailing, I know there's people who sail around Lake Tahoe. I don't know how well it goes
Oh,
for them, but
dude, it's on the bucket list. It's on the bucket list. When we see you, I need to find a boat. Yeah, love that shit.
other than one thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to not pull the trigger on um the Dark Falcon and that Lego Star Wars book that they have on not on sale. It's not on sale, but they have for sale on Lego's website. And I think the total price, I sent you a screenshot. It's like it's the two of those combined is currently set at $330. And it's not hard to not pull the trigger, but I keep this shopping cart page pulled up, and I'm like, but I really kind of want it. I do kind
Isn't
of.
that the? Isn't that the? Isn't there an animated movie coming up that comes from
The
the
the Dark
the
Falcon,
alternative? Yeah, the alternative. The alternative. Isn't that from
like
something soon?
like Star Wars What If. I think so. I think I remember talking about this one time,
Oh, how
but
bad are we?
I just want the minifigs. I just want the Jedi Darth Vader, the Darth Jar Jar, the Beach Luke with the blue milk, the carton of blue milk, Dark Ray, and the Bounty Hunter C-3PO. It's like, can I just buy those? Like, I don't really want the whole ship. I don't have room for it, but like, I want to just buy those new, please, not for $180 US dollars. And I do want that book as well, The Force of Creativity. I don't know if you've seen that yet. It's a, I think it's a book.
Yeah,
It's a book,
no,
right?
I
Yeah, it's a coffee
I
table
don't
book.
know.
Yeah.
I actually think
Sick.
it's only the set. I don't think it's got anything to do with a production. I could be wrong.
Or maybe they made that commercial. It was like a commercial for it, like an announcement for the set.
That's
Like they
right.
made like
Around on May the 4th.
yeah.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah,
what it was.
yeah.
Damn, that's expensive. But anyways, yeah, I'm trying
Rebuild
not
the
to buy that.
rebuild the galaxy. No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. However, I do have. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. I did forget something because you were talking about merch. Um, Last week I talked about a particular uh, toy, a particular dolly I've been after quite a while, because I love the absurdity of the Power of the Jedi line because they're insane. It finally arrived today, so mint on card. Mint on card for Power of the Jedi. Can you believe that? Anyway, mint on card. I've got the Dejarik champion Chewbacca. Now, Chewbacca's my boy, as you know, and I've pretty much got every Chewbacca that you can think of across SH Figure Arts, 3.75, and obviously Black Series as well. And thanks to Chris Hall, the bootleg crap as well that I'm just in love with. Anyway, point being, I've pretty much got all of them. This one has been elusive, and it's elusive because it's it's a reenactment of the scene where in A New Hope where he wins, I don't know, threatens his way to win the game of Dejarik with R2. And it's just basically a figure that you could do pretty much nothing with because
Yeah.
he's got his hands up behind his head in that famous moment where let him win. It's not wise to upset a Wookiee, but sir, yada yada yada. Yeah, but but droids don't pull your arms out of their sockets. Wookiees are known to do that. It's that moment there with an accompanying Dejarik table with it as well. And so that finally came through today. I paid way too much for some plastic, but it was affordable. And bearing in mind that I've been looking for this for quite a while now, it's just a bit of fun, right? It's not. It is completely worthless, but it's good fun. And it's got a little seat as well. Anyway, I've been looking forward to this for quite a while. So that came through today. So what I talked about last week, I can finally say I have it in hand, and it's immaculate.
Nice. You know that when that was being produced and there was like approvals being done, there was somebody in that that approval chain that says, what is this? Like, why you can't do anything with it? And like he's not sitting, and it's like, and it's so suggestive. Like, yeah, we as Star Wars fans know that that's when that's from that very specific scene where he's putting his hands behind his head, but he's standing. And so it's like you look at it, if you don't know what it is, like there was somebody in that chain who was like, it's very suggestive. And then the designer just looks at him and goes, yeah, I know. But who cares? Like, just like, this will be hilarious. We'll be able to look back on this and it will be funny.
There's a young man 25 years from now that would really appreciate this because
Yes.
it's wrong in all the right areas. So now I've got that. So I'm very happy. That is going to take pride of. Oh, sorry. Moved away from the mic. Yeah, that's going to take pride of place up here in the shed in the sauna. Sorry, and So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I did want to give you an update on the purchases.
Nice. I mean, I don't think I've gotten anything else. I've been working my way through all my jelly beans. Those have been good. I feel like death a little bit at times. The sugar crashes are real, but yeah, other than that, there's not a whole lot else going on. Yeah.
So we are good. So I mean, let's be fair. I have not picked up on any news in 3 days, and I'm actually okay if I don't, so long as we can fast track to the next point, which is what the hell happened today in the Acolyte. Are you okay with that if we move on?
Yeah, I don't have any news.
Cool. So, buddy, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm still a little bit numb, to be honest with you. I for a guy that isn't into the whole Sith lore, the whole lightsaber slash bang bang kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before in the context of the show of this particular show. It's very. I mean, people are already talking about, compared to Andor. It's like, well, no, it's two very very different things. So you can't even compare them. It's not even worth comparing them. But compared to the other things that we have had, which has included Jedi lore and combat and the rest of it, I I came away really flabbergasted from the whole thing. What are your thoughts?
So I've had a little bit more time to think about it. I watched it when it dropped yesterday, and then immediately went on like an hour and a half or an hour long bike ride with Madison. So I'm just like stewing on. I would just had some time to just sit there, like not get on the internet,
Yeah.
and just like stew on it and be like, okay, like what happened? Like I don't think I was kind of like I kinda had this, like, euphoria when I finished watching it yesterday. I'm like, I don't think I've ever had a piece of Star Wars, like, I'm talking about kind of the show as a whole, but, like, specifically last episode, like, where it went. It's like, I don't think I've ever had an episode kinda bring every emotion, not every emotion, but so many emotions so strongly ever. I think this is probably the most, besides, like, season 6 or 4 of Rebels, something that happened, but, like, for a single season show with like episode, like that's not been on very long. It's like it made me feel so much. Like, uh, yeah, there was like initial feelings of like, damn, it is him. Oh, damn, it is a Sith. Like, but there was not like a disappointment. It's just kind of like a little bit of a sinking. And I was like, whatever. But I thought the way they did it was like, I'm happy with it. I'm like, I don't care. Like, we were wrong. We were super wrong. But it's like, and it was kind of the obvious pick. But we also have 3 episodes left. So I'm like, I think there's still a lot to go. It's almost like eating a multi course meal where it's like, whoa, each one's like better than the last. And it's like, well, what do we still have left? Oh my God, this is crazy. Um, I've there was times where I felt like extremely happy. There were times that I felt like I don't think I felt like absolutely gutted in a Star Wars show like this, like something that you didn't see coming necessarily, or like you can always kind of have a prediction. Like Star Wars kind of has a formula. So like you usually know, like have a feeling of what's coming, but man, um there were some parts where I'm like that genuinely surprised me in a good way, because I
Mm.
like where this is going. I still have a lot of questions, and that's okay. I'm digging it. Um, I think, and I'm hoping more and more people will see that. Not the people I don't care about, but like I'm hoping more of our friends come around to it as the season wraps up and we get to hold the big picture. Very memento esque. Um, but I'm just shocked that they like so much happened so early on um, in the season. It's not like an end of season culmination, but no, I'm excited. I loved it. I think it was super cool. That
Yeah.
was rambling, but yeah.
No, it wasn't at all. I'm still trying to digest. I mean, I because of the new scheduling, I have to see it on a Wednesday. I see it on a Wednesday. Luckily, our buddy Josh over at Star Wars Spelled Out has me joining him during my lunch break at work for his kind of review of the episode of the week, and we were able to. This week we would. It was myself, Catherine, and Josh just on our own, kind of reviewing, uh, thinking about what we'd just seen. And I literally had just seen it. I'd seen it literally an hour before we started recording. So I was, what I felt was like rambling because hadn't really formed many ideas in my head as to where we are at the moment to try and make sense of what I'd just seen, um, which is really cool. It's actually really really
Yeah.
cool to have me having no idea where this is going to go now. Of course, I've got some ideas. We all have, but two takeaways from this week were I hope that today is just it kind of proves to perhaps some of the naysayers, or indeed some of our friends that want to remain positive and maybe have not enjoyed the last couple of episodes. I hope it's justification for them to, or sorry, it explains why so much time, certainly the last 2 episodes, has been spent on character development. Because like many, I found the last couple of episodes interesting, but okay, if that makes sense. You know, interesting but okay, and a lot to speculate on. What I didn't perhaps appreciate was the amount of character development that they did um, on our heroes in particular. You know, the likes of Jackie, the likes of Yord, and and seeing them wiped out. Oh, by the way, spoilers, everyone. We're talking about it. And seeing them wiped out like that was a real gut punch for me because I
Mm.
hadn't perhaps appreciated how much time and effort had been put into building them as characters, whether we liked them, loathed them, or got frustrated by them. I mean, we talked about Yord last week, and in my mind, as being deliciously pompous because he was a new corporate lad, trying to fit into his new shoes, and it was seeing that all snuffed out in one go was quite the gut punch. Secondly, the second emotion I had was, oh damn it, we were completely wrong. I felt really enthused when I spoke to you on Sunday about pretty much the mutual speculating that we had done, albeit independently. And while both of us had very, very different opinions as to or ideas as to who the acolyte or the master would be, we pretty much were singing from the same hymn sheet. And it's not that person; it's the guy that we thought was too obvious to be.
Mhm.
And we'll talk about that in a second. But the great thing about having a conversation with Josh and the guys before we're recording is that maybe, and I'm holding on by my fingernails here, maybe our theory is not dead yet because maybe,
Yes,
just maybe
let's put a pin in that one because I think I have
that
some thoughts on
person
that one
says,
too.
okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay, so yes, they're my biggest two takeaways, but the rest of it I thought was deliciously violent and brutal and really unforgiving. And I'm genuinely gutted for folk that they'd spent so long developing their characters, and I'm sorry for repeating myself, only for them to be snuffed out, and that's really upsetting in a nice
Well,
way because it's good because it's good drama.
I'll expand on it. I mean, it's there were some things that I thought were some really that I've never really seen done super well in Star Wars in this episode specifically. To your point about like you're gutted because of like the character development for these characters that we lost. It's like, and that right there is the difference between the way we feel towards losing Yord and Jackie versus Anakin slaughtering the younglings. It's like there's
Yeah,
no like we all joke about it, but there's no emotional connection to younglings, and he slaughtered a room full of them. But a character that we two characters that we've got to know over a couple episodes and form relationships with other characters, and you just see so like Jackie specifically, it's like I posted some stuff in the Discord. I didn't
oh,
mean it as like a joke of like anti Jackie. It's like, no, dude, she fought like an absolute badass, and it made it that much more compelling. It's like as a Padawan just going and going and going and fighting, fighting, fighting. It's like, yes, she's holding her own. Yes, here we go. Okay, she's getting blasted through doors. And then just to get the pop, 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 like 3 hole treatment, it's just like you just like it just sucks the wind out of you. And it's like, dang, like I really enjoyed that character. Like it gives it life, and it's like, see, these episodes aren't filler. It's character development is critical to causing you to have emotions and feelings, whether we realize it or not. That's what supplementary material is. That's what books and comics
but the skill,
and
the the
it was
skill and the
fantastic.
ferocity, exactly the skill and the ferocity that she fought only added to that character development.
Yeah,
Um, there was no reason why I would expect her to die in that conflict because you have what 4 episodes prior to this of her um, building up to be this smart, intelligent, enabled, empowered, skillful young lady who then demonstrates her ability in her fighting in her fighting repertoire or whatever, fighting stance. And the fact she lost is almost immaterial because she's such a fucking badass. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, she lost, and we won't see her again. And that's the bit that's like, ah, damn it, damn it.
Well, and
Um,
it's all part of
and
that bigger thing too.
it,
Of,
well, it's all part
go
of
ahead.
good writing. It's all part of
Yeah.
really good writing, man. I mean, the fact that the fact that I thought that she had a chance to win, the fact that I thought she had a chance to win, or she had a chance to get away,
Yeah.
um, still right to the very, very bitter end. I mean, the way man, what a character. What a character. Anyway,
Here,
sorry.
well,
I
well,
interrupted you there.
there's
Sorry.
no the Jackie thing is also part of a big point that I wanted to make too. Of like, I don't know what to call this emotional feeling that there's like movies and stuff that stand out in my mind over time that I've watched where there's a moment that just kind of like it emotionally guts you in a certain way that
Yeah.
you just remember. It's like it's not that's not what I wanted. Like it's a good thing because it's like it's part of the story and it makes you feel something, but it's like it sticks with you. It's like and there's two examples. It's like one, it's like whatever the Jurassic Park movie is, where like the T Rex eats the dog and he's like got the chain hanging out of his mouth. It's like they didn't need to do that. Like
No.
it's like you just feel it's like the dog didn't deserve that. And then in Saving Private Ryan near the end, where like the two guys are wrestling and they got the knife and he's like begging him to stop, and it's like
Oh,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
don't do
yeah,
that. Please don't do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
this is
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
you want Jackie to win so bad or to get away, but it's like, no,
There's no
we're not
exit.
getting that. There's no
There's
exit. And
no
I think that's
exit.
part of this larger thing. The other piece that I thought they did really well was they I've never seen Jedi actually afraid. I've seen it in the books, like in some of the High Republic books, but when Yord was in the forest with the bugs, and it's like he's trying to get back to she's like, no, I got an order. Like yeah, he's following orders. He's a rule follower, but there was a huge overlay of fear in
Yeah.
that of like this is what this I'm not prepared for this. He told us to leave. We got to go. Like yeah, it's following the rules, but like there's the huge underpinning of like
Well, I'm assuming.
his facade had cracked, and then you go in and it's like they just made him. It just made the baddie, the ghoul, the stranger. Actually, the stranger. It made the stranger so much more terrifying. Where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we've never seen any. We've only seen Jedi like confident going in and be like, my nemesis as the heroes. But like to have them come across it and they handle it so well. Of like, hey, we're just galactic cops, and now it's like, no, there's a very competent baddie who is wrecking people.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is just
And,
so awesome.
and if you think about it, and what I loved about Yor's performance, the guy that plays Yord, I'm really sorry, guys, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy that plays Yord is that he's been deliciously pompous up until now. He's shown empathy and had OSHA's back up until now when it's appropriate. So, for example, when Torben
Mhm,
took his own life, and he followed OSHA and told the truth. So he's honourable. Yeah, he's
mhm.
pompous, but he's honourable. He's got a good heart. And like I said last week, OSHA still thinks of him affectionately despite his pomposity. Um, Seeing that genuine fear from him today, it's like, oh, this is something else. And don't get me wrong, it was very much Yord, but it was Yord that we don't that 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 wasn't so confident in what he's doing at the moment. And we talked a little bit about it earlier on with Josh and Catherine. It was almost like this guy's not playing by the rules. He's not
Yeah,
playing by the rules, and it's almost back in the First World War. And the analogy I use is when tanks were introduced in the First World War.
yep,
People would normally almost organize. What time is war today? They'd work out a time, certainly back in the 1800s, as to when two sides would have a war, and it would be
mhm,
gentlemanly in inverted commas, and the last man standing would win the war. And I get the feeling that there's been so much Jedi dogma and tradition for so long that I mean, Yord very clearly said I can't anticipate him. I can't work out what he's doing. He's not fighting the way I want him to fight. He's breaking the
It's
rules, and
almost ceremonial, and it's like
it's
now this is
wicked.
real. Yeah,
It's absolutely wicked, and I think that. And while you can say that about the Sith in general, I think it's pretty unique for this program. Sorry, for this season. And again, if you think about the 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 aerobics or the physicality of this of this sword fight, I very much thought about it in comparison to the Phantom Menace, and the Phantom Menace was a beautiful balletic dance
mhm,
between
yeah,
someone equally as ferocious as Maul and someone as astute as Kenobi, for example, or
yeah,
indeed
yeah, yeah.
prior to that, before he got wiped out, Qui-Gon as well. But it was very much I mean, it looked beautiful and it looked ferocious, but it looked, you know, parry counter, parry counter. It was very very traditional type of saber saber fighting. Um, and one could predict the other one's movements, and it's when you can't, when there's a sleight of hand or what have you, or something else happens that it doesn't work out for the opponent. But in this case, it was visceral. It was gnarly. It was absolutely gnarly. Where it didn't matter if they fell by the saber or the hand, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in a second when it
Yeah.
comes down to Yord in particular. But you know, it didn't matter by the saber, by the hand, by the knife, by the fingers. But this guy was out to kill
It's
everything any way
mm,
he could, and it didn't really. It was not about. I mean, the in that case, the saber was a tool, not part of him, if that makes sense.
yeah, normal Jedi fights, like see like lightsaber fights, feel like a boxing match or
Yeah.
like an acrobatic choreograph kind of thing, or like fencing. This felt like a street fight. This felt like a knockdown, drag out. Like you see a difference in that kind of
And
fighting.
I'm
It's
all
like,
for it, man. I'm all for it.
oh,
I
I'm
thought
all
it was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, none of these are complaints. This is all just like like the different feeling that it made you feel. It's like, yeah, everybody's gonna be like, oh, the fighting was amazing. It's like the fighting was amazing, and it's the choreography and the modern athleticism of all of the actors involved. But it's just like the emotion that they were able to pull out, the desperation, the panic of the Jedi of like, what are we doing? I think Jecki handled it the best, better than any of their others, but
Yeah.
it's still not enough because it's like they're not. It's like this is the first instance of like you could be trained all you want, but until you dig deeper and
Yeah.
get whatever that is below the training, like you're not. It's not enough because the ghoul, the stranger guy, he's locked in. He's locked in. He is funneling that full energy, and he's running on just 110% like octane. Let's go. Like just almost toying with them in a way too. Like he never felt uh like bested. There were times where like, yeah, okay, yeah, you get wind to get knocked around, whatever, but like I never felt like he was gonna lose. Um just kind of mess with
You
people. And it's so visceral.
you were never going to get some sort of honourable I yield. If you remember the fight between Anakin and Dooku on the Separatist ship at the beginning of um, Revenge of the Sith, you've got, you know, Dooku is bested, and you know he's bested, and he's sitting there. I wouldn't say begging for his life, but he's sitting there on his knees, um, waiting for a decision of how from Anakin as to how he'll be dealt with. Right, and then you get the whole thing between Palpatine, you know, do it, and then you've got um, the conflict in Anakin about I should take him in. It's like no, do it, and we know what the rest. You know, the rest is history, as they say. With this guy, there's going to be no honor in the conflict. That whatever happens, there's going to be no conflict. And many times we saw him being bested, but he's like a feral animal that's been backed into a corner. He
Mhm.
will gouge, scratch, bite, crawl his way out of any situation to get the upper hand. Um, and, and the word I used earlier on, and I use it again, is there's something very animalistic about the fighting style, which again was showed the skill of Maul, but also the pure violence of someone like and yeah, the pure violence and trying to
Things
think of
felt
the
like they had
word.
weight. They had weight to them. It wasn't.
Well, I kept thinking of there's a few times where he was single handed for a start, and he was showing the kind of um, adeptness. Is that a word? Adeptness, or he was showing the ability to be able to wield a saber with a single hand, like Dooku did, because Dooku was
Mhm.
very much a fencer. Was very much a fencer when it came down to lightsaber. Then he'd show the balletic or the aerobics of Maul, and then you'd see the kind of stabby, less slashy approach of someone like Palpatine or Sidious. It was a combination of many different styles that was kind of veneered in this kind of nasty, feral. I mean, I don't know if you heard the noise that was going on as he
Yeah.
was attacking folk. It was something else, and I thought it was really good. And I'll say it now. What I said earlier on today, which was do at the moment in my brain because it's still so fresh. It's the best lightsaber fight I've ever seen. But then again,
Yeah.
it's fresh in my mind at the moment. So I'm not naive enough to think there aren't anything else. There's nothing else there that's better. But I just thought it was
Well,
ace, and I
well,
the
to
pure
qualify
the
that.
pure. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. No, no. I don't want you to finish your thought.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no. I was going to say the pure desperation and like I said, and I'm repeating myself, the animalistic style of the fighting just really landed with me. It was desperation. It was fantastic. Sorry, mate.
Bingo. No, no, that's exactly what I wanted to add to it. It's like because I think it's easy to say, "Oh, this is my favorite one," or dismiss it. It's like, "Oh, it's the most recent," but it reminds me of the Kylo and Rey, the Last Jedi fight. It's
Mm,
my favorite right now, and like I think that's probably my second favorite, just because of the nature of it. It's not just uh twirly, flashy, acrobatic things like that. Like it took what I think that gained the Ray and Kylo and where it became more visceral, people actually fighting. Like it's not just a sword fight where there's rules and
yeah.
pomp and circumstance, whatever. It's like no, they're trying to kill you, and I think this just took that and amplified it to a 10. And I think there's gonna be people who are like, oh, because it's long. It's good because it's long. It's like no, you could have cut that
No.
first half out completely, and it's not about the duration. It is about the animalistic, the brutality, the desperation, the emotions that they were able to convey in such a short amount of time and very short clips and scenes from the actors. It's not just about memorizing the choreography. This took it to a whole different level.
Yeah,
That
man.
I'm in 100% agreement with you.
Yeah.
I did have a
S-
couple things that I wanted to mention, but before we get into like theorizing, there was like one goofy thing I just got to mention that I'm like I don't know if you picked up on it. I'm sure it's probably nothing, but the fact that they kept doing it, it's stuck in my brain. And that thing is every time they kept having people fall to the ground and then that dusty dirt stuff like fly up into their face like multiple times. And it was so bizarre. I'm like, are they going to go somewhere with like this like, oh, hallucinogenic things aren't what you seem because like the ground is actually something different because they just kept emphasizing it. Like they don't just have somebody fall, but they fall and then it's like, oh, you fall into a pile of cocaine and it's like poof, and you're like, oh,
don't know.
What happened?
I don't
What
know.
happened?
But if you remember at the very very beginning when Osha wakes up from being thrown to the
Yeah,
side, and I got a theory about why wasn't she killed? But anyway, Osha being thrown to the side, there were some red marks which looked like a handprint actually on
yeah.
the ground as to where when uh,
The
Khmer
stranger pushed the
when it
stranger pushed him away.
when he pushed them away. It's clear there's clearly something going on in the forest floor there because the ground is brown, the earth underneath it is red. It reminded me a little bit of like Crate, for example, with
Yeah,
the idea of the top level of the surface being some white. Um, whether it has a meaning, I've got no idea, mate. Whether it's just a visual aesthetic, I'm cool with that. It's not a problem. We've seen it before. It's not like we haven't set a
yeah,
precedent, so I'm okay with
yeah.
that. But
It just felt weird. It
I don't
just
know,
felt
man.
weird that they kept emphasizing it. Um, was there anything else that you picked up on before we get into the obvious, like, theorizing about things that were
Yeah, of
said in, like, the future and where things are going?
course. I rate you a list.
Look at that. That list looks frantic.
I rate you a list this morning. So in sequential order, because whatever I talk about this morning with with Josh and the team, it's like I have an obligation to my own podcast, and I need to make sure that I talk to Sean about what I'm thinking, and there's a very good chance between here and then I'll forget all about it, so I'll write it down. So okay, first of all, um, the armor, his bracer, and his helmet diffuses the sabers, which I thought was cool. And subsequently, I've seen our buddy Hawes, for example, say that this might be a something called, is it Cortois or
Cortosis.
yeah, Cortosis, sorry, armor, which is from the New Republic games. Either way, I thought it was cool. Um, I'm not going to placate anyone that thinks that's wrong because it's already in the EU, which should satisfy a certain type of person at the moment. But also on top of that, we've already got Beskar, so we know that Beskar can already resist the blow from a lightsaber. What's to say there's not another material that can't diffuse it
Was
or
wasn't there stuff in
disrupt
the
that?
Fallen Order games too that did that as well? Like, not quite the same, but I mean, this isn't. I don't know why people just want to be. If they're hung up on that, they just
I
want to
don't
be hung
know.
up on
I
shit.
don't know.
Yeah.
I picked up on the furious fighting, and I've said Maul and Sidious in one fight, which I thought, in one fighter, sorry, which I've already covered. Um, oh God, sick. We've never seen it before in Star Wars. Um, when he pulls a Jedi onto the saber that he's already lanced with somebody else,
That was
that was
sick.
insane. Oh my God,
Yeah.
dude, we've never seen anything like that. I mean, we may or may not have seen that before in other types of films, but he's already skewered and
What a
has at the
sucky
end
way
of
to
his
die.
saber.
What a
Oh,
sucky way to
mate,
die.
I couldn't believe. Yeah, but what a cool way to kill, right? But anyway,
Oh,
but yeah, no,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, never ever seen anything like that before, and I thought that was particularly sick. Um, the I got really distracted. I got really distracted with um, Kumir running after Osha, and we talked about maybe last week, if not the week before, about why didn't no, it was last week because why didn't he kill her last week and he threw her to the side, and then he went after, and I can't help thinking that, well, as it at the time when I wrote this down, I couldn't help think he's got other plans for Osha, because he's been let down by May. Um, Weird bit. Sol knows him, or he knows Sol. Either way, so let me take a step forward. Finding out it was Khmer at the end, behind the whole thing, it's a little bit like it was Agatha all along. It it's. I must admit, at the start, I was a little bit disappointed. It's like
Mhm.
shit. We predicted this, but the way. So when we found out that it was him, I was a little bit disappointed. I must admit. But then
Yep, same.
subsequently, the way the rest of the episode panned out, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. No, I'm okay with that. I can get over that because A, it's introduced new questions. And
Yeah.
secondly, what a badass. What an
Well, the
absolute badass.
well,
So,
they
for
followed that because
example,
I think it's easy to be disappointed by that because when they follow one trope, it's easy to assume that they're gonna follow all the others. But when they did
yeah,
that, but then it just completely went a different direction, you're like, "Okay, well, maybe they're onto something here." It's like,
well,
we're dealing with more complex Star Wars.
I feel as if they compensated for my disappointment in assuming the obvious. Sorry, we negated the obvious. We didn't think it could be him because it's way too obvious, but it ended up being him. But they compensated for that in the story by actually asking new questions that we don't know yet. We don't know the answers to yet. So, for example, despite the fact that it ends up being the person that we always thought it was and therefore can't be, um, he knows Soul. Soul recognized something about him. There is something
Mhm.
familiar about him that Soul. So there is again. It could be 16 years ago. You know, the missing parts that we don't know about yet, or it could be something completely different. Either way, it's another. It's another. You know, while one thread is closed, or one thread is tied up, another one is unraveled. So I really like that part of it, and so I don't have any problem at all it being the obvious.
We're playing checkers, they're
That
playing chess. It's
yeah,
like,
exactly. It's not. It really is nuts. The helmet, for example, um, it looked imposing last week. Um, although I did point out that the frame of the body is sinewy. It's very slight. It's very. I mean, now you've seen him. It's very muscular, and I can envy a body like that. But the point being is that it didn't kind of make much sense apart from it being unnecessary aesthetics or unnecessary decoration. Knowing now that it's used as a weapon or a defensive mechanism,
mhm,
but not only that, it's like Magneto's helmet in the Marvels. Sorry, in Marvel, in the X-Men, and it's actually used to prevent the Jedi from getting into his brain. I think is wicked. I think it's absolutely brilliant because if you look at Kamir, whatever he is, whatever, and we'll talk about that later on, but whatever he is, if you look at him, he looks sick until he sticks that stupid helmet on. He looks like a Funko. It's a big ass helmet
I
on
fucking
this
love it.
on
I
on
love
this
it. I
like
love the
frame.
helmet.
Now we know what it is. I'm like, dude, that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
we know what it serves a purpose. Again, like I said, it diffuses lightsaber blades, and secondly, it stops the Jedi from getting into his head. So very very Magneto. So I like that. Um, Again, he knows what Soul did, so that was kind of reaffirmed later on. Um, One thing that I found really fascinating, it got me really excited, was before Kamir is unveiled, or we he is we know who it is. Osha talks about her mother having the same abilities to be able to control people, and I thought, fuck, Sean and I are right. I'll suggest we're right. It's nothing to do with the Sith. It's down to the mothers. And obviously, 3 or 4 minutes later, it's like, oh no, it's actually Kamira after all. So but it did get me a little bit excited that Osha talked about her mother's ability um, when she was talking to Yord about what was going on at the moment. To be continued, because I've got a theory about this. Um, as we suspected, they used the insects. We thought they'd use the insects again because they seemed underutilized in the last episode. So they used that as a means to escape. And the way that they brought those insects down on Kamir, I thought was wicked, and him being carried up into the trees.
So I have a I
to
have a I have a thought
hopefully
on that one before you move on.
a grim demise, which never actually happened because he slaughtered a lot of them. But that was good at the time. And I thought, yay, they're free. No, they're not. Sorry, carry on.
So with that, I do have to call out that my heart sank for our good friend Catherine for a minute because I thought that was going to be a Pip sacrifice moment of like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah,
no,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
oh
yeah,
no, oh no,
yeah.
oh
Pip's
no.
head.
Eh, Pip's head is about to be sacrificed in a what is obviously not going to actually get rid of him permanently, but it's like, oh no. But then it's nice to see that he came back, which we can talk about in a minute.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
I felt
yeah,
for Catherine on that.
our boy saved him as well. Basil, what a
Yep.
legend. Anyway, uh, May runs away a lot. So about for 4/5 of this, or 3/4 of this episode, it's quite a short episode. It's only about half an hour or so. Um, May runs away an awful lot, which I wrote down at this point during the watching, but I think I'd like to talk about it at the end because, quite frankly, she runs away an awful lot, trying to get away from everyone. She then has the face off with her sister. Her sister is then, they do the swapperoo, and then she says that she loves her sister, and yet she said in the last episode that she's happy to turn herself into the Jedi so long as she can talk about the truth, and then she's doing this underhanded means of getting on board the Jedi ship. Let's talk about let's work that out when we speculate later on. Um, Kamir, fighting with one handed again. Very Vader. I thought it was awesome. The fact that and this is the bit that we might need to leave until later when we speculate about what's going on at the moment. The fact that he doesn't give himself a label or doesn't feel necessary to follow any rules. He says, you would call me a Sith. But that's not a label that I give myself. Suggests that they still might not be Sith. Anyway, that's that. Don't forget, just because he walks around with a red lightsaber doesn't mean that he's Sith. At the end of the day, a red lightsaber means that the kyber has been bled. It's been bled because of the dark power within the individual that's wielding it. So the, the fact that he kind of doesn't follow a rule or any rules, including the rules of the Sith, kind of makes me think: have you and I still got a theory about this that might come true in the end, which also would back up Kiadi's bullshit by the Phantom Menace? Anyway, there was that. I think after he lost the bobblehead, he looked sick, absolutely sick. Talk about a ripped, grungy Sith Lord, or is me saying they're not Sith? Anyway, talking about a ripped, grungy badass. He looked amazing. He looked absolutely amazing, and I thought, yeah, that's a dark side user for 2024. Um, um, Still seems to be pursuing Osha. Gutted about Yord. Um, the fact that May stuns Soul is interesting. And the other thing that I had about
Can that
Soul,
gun do anything else besides stun people?
I don't think so. I don't
Is it
know.
just a stun gun?
I don't know. I don't know. And then lastly, why couldn't Soul sense May? So bearing in mind an awful lot of the episode was focused on both getting it in each other's head. So Yord talks about
Or does he know it's
um,
not OSHA and
well,
he's playing
I'm
along?
glad you said that because this is something else that I've subsequently worked out is that you know this episode is all not only about the physicality but also the you know the brain invasion that's going on between between both sides of the force here. Kumir talks about, um, you know, I'm wearing this helmet so you don't get in my head. Yord talks about you, you know, this guy gets in your head and he makes you question yourself and so on and so forth. Um, and then you have, which would suggest force users can identify each other relatively easy from empathy or some sort of empathic ability to tap into someone else's mind. Um, it's weird that May has got away with convincing Soul, if she has, to your point, that she is indeed Osha. And I like that you're going down the line that he knows already that it's not that it's not that it's May and not Osha. And that's everything I wrote down, mate. I got
So
nothing else,
I have
but
I got a small list. I got a small list before we jump into the crazy time when we're both wrong, just epically. So one of them was,
I
does he
don't think we
know
are.
it's
I don't think we are.
maybe, maybe not, you know? I could mark off my, does he know it's OSHA, not May? And along those lines, we can talk about it in a minute. It's like, I assume the stranger knows that it's not uh May and it's OSHA since she's not wearing the same thing. But we'll talk about that in a minute. One of this is kind of a generalized thing. You kind of touched on it with the stranger. Um, I keep calling him the stranger because that's what the subtitles were calling him when he would talk,
Right.
calling him the stranger. So that's where, if people are wondering why I keep calling him that, that's where. Because I'm a subtitle boy. The takeaway is, this right here is a huge, huge feather in the cap of, we need more young actors in Star Wars.
Oh,
The physicality, the I love the oldies. I love the OG characters, and they had their place and stuff. But it's like, this is so fresh and new. Because I remember when they did the premiere and they showed all of them, but like a lot of them were pretty covered up. But then you could when you look at somebody you've seen in something
yeah.
else and you look at them now and it's like, oh, they are in shape. And you look at all of them that were there, it's like, these people went through some freaking training for this show, and this, you could see it here. It's like, yes, Jason from The Good Place is freaking like, I want that. I want whatever he's on. I don't want to do the work, but I want it. That would be sick. Like, it's so physical. And then even like Jackie and the others, like the physicality that younger actors can like bring to the table. And it's not that like Thor Love and Thunder, like, oh, I ate raw chicken for 6 months and worked out 19 hours a day, not that kind. But this more, I call it like modern athleticism, like a functional athleticism look. So fresh, so awesome, love it. More of that in Star Wars, please and thank you. That was cool. um the there's nothing really, it's not a positive or negative, it's just like, I love the interjection of what I'm just calling the Basil bullshit. It's not bullshit, it's just uh, two B's. Just the, every once in a while something serious is going on, then Basil's just run across the screen. It's like, I love the kind of emotional kind of screenplay of like, it is serious, but then there's also the lightheartedness of like, oh, don't, you forgot about it. They could have easily just like been like, Basil who? We're moving on. But the fact that he's still there and still critically part of this story, I think is very entertaining, to say the least. Um,
Yeah, but he's not there just to be cute.
no,
He's
but
there.
but it's not.
He's there.
Go ahead.
He's there as a plot point as well. You know what I mean. He's going to be there as a plot point without a doubt.
But it's the shift in music and the shift in tone that
Oh, I
immediately
see what
takes
you
place.
mean. Yeah,
That,
yeah, yeah, I get
that
it.
I think is just hilarious. It's like, you just see him just shuffling across the ground, and it's like, there was one that really made me laugh. I think it's when they first showed him again, where it's like something very emotional and serious just happened, and I think it's like somebody running off distance, and then it's almost like the Scooby Doo running through the doors. Like, oh, look over here. The next thing you know, like somebody else runs across. It's like, I thought it was a funny filmmaking device that they did to bring him back into things. Like, he's almost oblivious to what's going on, and he's still just tracking, and that's it. That's his sole purpose. He's just tracking stuff. So I enjoyed that. Um, my my one criticism that kind of stood out for me the show. It's not a major negative. It's just kind of something that was kind of poking me in the back of the head that I get why it was, but I a part of me wishes they would have made different choices maybe after the fact. But that's cart before the horse kind of thing. The parent trap scenes where both May and Osha were there felt
Yeah.
lifeless and awkward because it's the same actress and they had to keep doing this over the shoulder stuff and the action felt disconnected and it just felt like damn you went with two different younger actresses. It almost makes you wish they would have, but then they can't do the oh the parent the swap thing, but it's just like
Yeah, but
it just
yeah,
felt
but
weird.
the challenge you have there is that you need to find a set of twins that have the acting chops that that
Yeah,
which is quite
and I
rare. And even though there are um, many acting siblings out there that are identical twins, typically I don't know one of yet that hasn't been used outside of a. Sorry, what I'm trying to say here. It's hard. It's hard, and I
absolutely
don't know.
I
I didn't have.
I
I
love
didn't struggle with what you did. Sorry.
let me flip it around because I love Amon Stenberg's acting.
Yeah.
I think they're doing a really good job. Um, I'm not a filmmaker, so I don't know how to solve. I will say I am glad that they didn't use a different actor and then do like facial mapping to like make it work. Like I am glad they didn't do that, but I just wish there was something that they could have done to make it feel less parent trappish, where it's like, oh, we're gonna look over the back of your head and over the
I'm with
shoulder,
you.
and just and felt kind of disjoint, or just speed it up because it felt very like clunky. While the rest of the episode was very, we're in the middle of fight scene, wiped something else, wipe back, wipe this, and that scene felt very like weird hard cuts. But anyways, it's not a major criticism. It was just felt weird. Um, and to your point about this can maybe roll us into the next thing of the thing that I really liked about this episode was one thing we were wrong, or I was specifically wrong about, where I thought it was going to be Soul died, and then it'd be this group, Jackie Yord, yada yada. Because I had no idea that they were going to kill them off. This is a very interesting way to. I labeled it as like they're clearing the table to emotionally charge the main players for the real conflict, and
Ooh. Oh,
it's interesting
I like
because
that.
I know I've spoken to some people and some people speculated that like uh what they say that Osha's going to become the acolyte and yada yada yada, which to me I was like no I don't see that because I think the emphasis on Osha and Jackie being friends, those friend scenes for so long, I think is going to be the emotional charge. Like all this stuff was done to emotionally charge everybody involved. We've already seen Soul get ramped and he's whatever, but it's like I don't see Osha's turning because then I think that completely throws all of the Jackie stuff back in her face unless she's manipulated by May or whatever and all that stuff. But no, I just thought that was cool. I'm like, this is the almost the revenge attack that you see in so many shows with that's like, okay, we're gonna take some people off the table. And so now we're all super
Yeah.
pissed. And now it's gonna now we're getting to the real conflict. This wasn't it. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know, mate. It's the first.
That's what's awesome. That's what's awesome.
Well, it is really good writing when you spend so much time building up characters that you end up loving, but they haven't done much,
Yeah.
and therefore, in most people's minds, it's been a flat episode or something, and then they just go like this, and it's really hard to speculate, which is what I think is really really cool about where we are at the moment. It's just insane. So
Do you?
going back to where we were. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I like your path. I like where you're going with this.
So going back to where we were last week, and you and I both came from it from different angles and with different people. We both thought that. Actually, no. Before we go there, sorry, because that is in my mind the end game of this pod. So what do we have left on the table? What we have left on the table is that we still don't know what happened 16 years ago. We still don't know what happened. We still think that there is a bunch of stuff that has not been talked about, has not been discussed, has been erased from memory, because that was suggested today, erased from memory, that may put a different pitch on, or a different take on what happened 16 years ago. Similarly, the baddies could also be manipulating the situation and be lying about what really happened and so on and so forth. I mean, I spoke with Rick last week, and it's like, it seems really weird that the Jedi would be involved in a cover up when they kind of portray themselves as whiter than white, which is, hypocrisy in itself anyway. But the point being is that it just seems to be something that is insinuated and could be as far from the truth because of the way that Leslie is actually writing this season. So first off, in my mind, there are a couple of things to three things that I want to see in the last, where are we? Three episodes. So the last three episodes, what happened 16 years ago, for real, and it may well be another flashback. It may well be a recollection of, from various flashbacks, aka Glass Onion or whatever we talked about last week. Secondly, I'm disappointed that Camille was the obvious choice after all, and it wasn't but he, like I said earlier on, he's introduced more questions than he has answered the problem. How does he know Soul? How does Soul know him? How does Soul recognize some kind of familiarity about him?
Mhm.
So there's those two things, and then lastly, who is Camille's master? So with that in mind, and bearing in mind what you and I speculated about last week, where's your thoughts at the moment?
So it's interesting that you made that last point there, because I think it's the first time this week I've heard you say it. Is that who is Kamir's master? Because I think that's so. I think there's I'll group yours into two kind of things. Like there's the big overarching what the hell's going on
Yeah.
with the baddies, and then also like how do we get away from this and like not have it not blow up with the Jedi Council and stuff. There's that whole thing, and then there's like the plot of the show with May and Osha and Soul and all them. At the higher level, that's the one I actually have active theories on, where it's like I don't think Kamir or the stranger, I do not think he is a master. Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, calling him the master, the master, master. It's like, I think that's the red herring. It's like, I think he's currently the apprentice because of comments that he made during the episode of being, I want to show my power. I want you guys, without you guys mucking with it. I think he is currently probably under a Plagueis or whoever. And he's an apprentice and he's frustrated that they're not revealing themselves. And he is trying to get his own apprentice so that he can build power and then come out and do and be an open out in the open baddie. But I don't think we'll get that until the end. And I think that's because he even said acolyte, but an acolyte is not an apprentice. So it's like I think he's the apprentice and not the
No, an
the the
acolyte
Sith
is
Lord or
an acolyte is a worshipper, isn't it? It's a follower. It's a yeah. To your point, it's not even an apprentice. It's
I think he's
let's look
trying to
it up.
build up an even multiple. He could trying to get May and Osha or whoever. But I think he is. I think that's a strong feeling I have right now. It's like he's not the real. He's like the localized baddie. He's not like the behind the scenes one that's actually doing whatever. Um, and I in terms of like how does this get by the Jedi temple and like yada, yada. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot more death, and then I think the Jedi Council is going to be like, we resolved it. We don't need to talk about it. It's sweep it under the rug. They weren't actually Sith. He's just a lost person. I think that's what makes it go away. And they never find out.
Well,
Similar to
well,
that, there's a true master.
even then, it's kind of like he's a grungy scrote that has abilities, has force abilities, but doesn't want to align for the Jedi. He wants to use them for nefarious means and get on with his own life and to his point have freedom. Um, he may well have no master. He may not be. He may not be Sith. I mean, he used the label because it's the only thing that the Jedi could relate to. He just may be a little dickhead that we all know and love. I mean, we're all that age at some point, but he just happens to have amazing superhuman abilities and superpowers that he's just a bit more of a dickhead than most young dickheads. If you know what I mean?
See, I feel like that's where Star Wars will be Star Wars though, and like even if it's not part of Leslie Headland's thing, like
It's gonna
they
be.
will not
It's
they
gonna have
will
a
not be able to
label.
help themselves. They will not be able to
Okay.
help themselves at some point and be like, but it was actually Plagueis pulling the strings all along or something. Like maybe
yeah.
not in this season or whatever. Like they will not be able to
Yeah.
help themselves. In terms, but I do think like the stranger Khmer is. I do think he's connected to the more localized story. And like when you were saying, kind of posing the questions, that's what made me kind of pop into my head of being like, what if the four Jedi that are on the target list, what if they've been the baddies all along, ever since they went to that planet or whenever, and like there's maybe a bit more mind control and stuff that's been going on, and the actions of those like what if Soul has been like possessed or kind of had a negativity in him ever since that time, as like a last wish or
Mind
whatever from those
control.
people.
Mind control was a massive focus this week, wasn't it? A massive
Yeah.
focus this week.
And so like
It
what
was. It
if
was. I mean, not that I mind not that I mind it, but again, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. The helmet, the influence that Khmer has on the Jedi, the 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 fact that the Jedi can feel Khmer in their heads. It's a big focus, so you could be right there, mate. There's more to go on this.
and like and
There's,
maybe
there's,
maybe
there's,
maybe mind control is not the right thing, but maybe more
I
of
know
like
what
a
you mean, though.
like a poisoning, more or less. Like like she poisoned their minds, and now they're different, like Coral did or whatever. And then they
Yeah,
started the
yeah,
fight and things on this, and then Torben and Kelnaka like was able to remove himself. He could sense or whatever, and went into his isolation. Torben went and did the vow of silence, and Dara just rolled with it or something. Hell, I don't know. And Soul has been denying it this whole time and fighting it and trying to do right. And his penance is, well, I'm going to take care of Osha and look after her because that's my role for the things that I've done. Like I'm trying to make it right
yeah.
and make myself feel better. Khmer is interesting because it's like I heard some of our friends speculating like, oh, did he say you don't remember me from like the market a couple days before or whatever? It's like, or is it what we're all being led to believe of like, oh, he knows himself. They know him from somewhere different. Like, was he on a different planet that they went and did this shit on? Um, and like tried to get kids, and something happened that pissed him off, and he's like, no, you don't get to come with us. We're gonna take your brother, or we're gonna take something something. Did they do something similar to a different coven or a different planet where like we're getting force sensitive kids and then we're just gonna slaughter everybody? Like were they part of this like uh troop of people who went out and got force sensitive kids for the Jedi and then left no trace? because they didn't agree with their maybe more of a like uh, a conqueror, or like a, what's the word I'm looking for, like a liberate, like a liberation team, and for the wrong kind of word. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I'm all over the place at this point.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I I don't have the brain capacity to work out what's going on at the moment. That's half my problem. I think that there is. I think there is something that happened 16 years ago that forged May's journey,
Hmm.
um, and not Osha's journey. Although the fact that um, Soul knows Kamir and Kamir knows Soul suggests that something else may well have polluted that the
Well,
facts
and that would,
there. I don't.
or
And sorry, go on.
or it justifies. You know how we've talked before about like, okay, why did Torben do this for 10 years, but this other stuff happened 16 years ago, and Kelnaka's only
Yeah.
been out of contact for a year. To me, that's what pushes me in that direction of like, this group of Jedi maybe have been doing stuff over the years, and then different people from that group have stepped away from it, maybe realizing that what they're doing is not right.
So all the victims of police extortion over the years have got together to actually gang up against the main perpetrators. I'm with you.
That's kind of what I'm that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. And once again, we're kind of back into that Memento vibe of like, who is the real
Interesting.
baddie?
Yeah, an interesting thought that that Catherine, with all her clarity, suggested this morning was that it doesn't make much sense what's going on at the moment, but maybe that's the point: is that it's just creating chaos. The whole thing is just creating chaos, and of course, I harken back to the days of Palpatine. Not back, but
Yeah.
forward to the days of Palpatine, where he's got two opposing elements of the galaxy fighting each other, so that he can rise in this fertile battleground. As of course Darth Sidious, and then the Emperor. Sorry. Um, maybe just it's all about just creating chaos and creating distraction, creating misinformation, so that everyone just starts questioning each other.
Well, and then,
Maybe, just maybe, there is no real problem with the Jedi at this moment in time, but it's been manipulated to appear a certain way, a little bit like prior to Order 66. We
but
don't
I
we don't
think
frigging know, but
Soul's guilt is the linchpin in that one though. There's something inside in his brain. He knows something, and that's what I feel like gives it credence, a little bit of credence. Like I feel like he knows what's going on. Like he's aware, but his like, I always call it like the 1950s attitude of like, I was protecting you from all of this stuff, and oh my god, I never thought all of this was going to come back and bite us all in the ass 10 times worse. I had good intentions. It's like, no, you've been lying, and just like, you should have come clean about this beginning. And I think we're approaching that point of frustration, and he admits what's happening,
yeah,
and then all the pieces kind of start falling into place. But unlike Sidious, like Sidious knew and he was orchestrating it. Soul knows and has known what the truth is, and then that's, I feel like that's going to be the critical point of, we were not great. And that would also explain like why we have those clips of Kelnaka and Soul fighting, of like
yes,
in the,
we haven't seen yet. Yeah, we haven't. Sorry, did you say Kelnaka and Soul?
yeah, and that isn't that who was in the preview. I thought there was a preview of those two going at it.
Yeah, I thought it's Kelnaka and Torben.
Maybe it
Tab.
is. Maybe it is. Yeah, yeah. And then,
Point
different people
being is
split from
that,
that group.
but then again, it could well be some mind control shit going on where temporarily
Yeah.
they fight each other. We don't know yet. I mean, my original thought about that was that ultimately, ultimately, something happened so bad that the Jedi turned against themselves
Mm,
because Kalnaka was duty bound to say no. This is not right, and fought Torbin, or if it's Soul, fine, it's Soul. But there's also, there's also another side now that after today being so focused on mind control or mind influence that maybe they couldn't help themselves and things got out of hand.
power
Things
trip.
got which goes back to what was kicking off on that planet before the events of that evening.
Yeah.
Already there was tension between the witches or the coven and the Jedi. The Jedi came in benevolently as they do, and started testing the kids. And Mother Zabrak, whose name I can't remember,
Coral.
thank you. Oh
Coral.
yeah, I forgot. Coral. She was ready to kick off, and ultimately, if what we saw in the trailer was an influence of a little bit of mind control, where people kick off with each other, who knows? Who knows? My last question is really around what I talked about earlier on, which was: do you think that he has a master, or is he literally a scruffy kid? Is he literally a scruffy kid that is extremely powerful in the Force, just wants to do his own thing? Um,
I,
or does he have a master? Is there a plan? To your point, is the will the Star Wars lore, will the Star Wars will the Lucasfilm bosses allow for it just being a story about, would it be a story about a James Dean version of the Sith that was just a bit moody, a bit angry, but was very, very powerful and just wanted to be left alone? Is this rebel without a cause for the Sith, or is it part of a is it part of a um an intended resurrection of the Sith? And if so, does he have a master? And if so, who do you think that master is?
all right. My initial answer was going to be no, no, then yes, because of the whole like he's gonna be rebel without a cause, and then they're not gonna be able to help themselves. It's gonna be a Ray nobody, and then he's gonna have, oh my god, it's Plagueis. Oh, imagine that. But now it's like, okay, let's really dig our story heels in a little bit. Let's go full like Ahsoka Thrawn. Like there's just a lot of moving parts, 40 chess. What if Plagueis is behind it all along? That's like, but it's not really, he's not really an apprentice. He's like, there's a bit of a yeah, you're my apprentice, but not really. I'm using you as a tool in the short term because I am trying, Plagueis is trying to get back into the good graces of the witches. So he's doing them a favor by wrecking some Jedi and getting May and Osha back because they are the key to the covens resurrection, blah 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 blah, reuniting, like building the power of the coven back up. And so Plagueis is doing this using Chimera as a pawn to kill a bunch of people, get those two back, because Plagueis needs the witches to create life and all that. It all ties into all of that. Like, oh, he's figured out how to create life through the coven, who needs his help to get these two back. Yada yada yada. Like, let's just yeehaw down that whole rabbit hole that's going to get fleshed out over seasons or comics or books or whatever. Like, is that
So
all connected, or is it?
do you think there's some sort of connective tissue there with what we're seeing today in Ahsoka and
I
Mandalorian
said
and
I said Ahsoka because they're like they've got like 9 layers of connectivity of like, what is everybody's intentions? Okay, if the coven, like, why do they need May and Osha back? Why will he not kill them? Because I think they are needed. Like, otherwise, just kill them all. Who cares?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
he needs those two. Okay, why does he need them? He doesn't need them unless he's connected to the coven. The coven needs them. They were the hope and the future of the coven. They were created unnaturally. So clearly they know how to create life with force powers and yada yada, but they're worried about their future and their safety and their like the continuing the bloodline of this coven and creating this whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So they need to be safe. Okay, so who needs them? The coven does. Why would the Sith or fake Sith or whoever be helping the coven? Plagueis needs to know how to make life. I don't think he could do it on his own. No one's ever really truly talked about it, I don't think. So is this all part of that like what is everybody's goals and intentions, and it's really just these Jedi are in the way. They because they know
Can you
something.
imagine? Can you imagine the meltdown if let's say I don't know. I don't even think he's not even behaving like an apprentice to somebody else. But anyway, let's say he is, and let's say that it's all connected to the witches, and the witches are behind all of this, and it's all about what happened 16 years ago, or maybe 16 years ago, or whatever it is. Because you never know; they might have been created artificial, or they may the girls may well have been created as an abomination um, in order to bring back the Sith. You never know. But
Mhm.
wouldn't it be hilarious if we find out that despite canon, in inverted commas, or speak or air quotes, sorry, that Plagueis was actually a woman? That would be so funny. I would
Oh,
love
dude,
it. I would
the
absolutely
internet will.
love it.
I will love it. The internet will explode. Like,
That Darth Plagueis the Wise, that knew how to create life or bring back life or whatever it is that he says, was actually a woman. I would honestly, that's the day that I would run naked around my village. That would be brilliant. I would love the meltdown there. I would love it.
oh my, that'd be so funny. That'd be so freaking funny.
Anyway,
I
sorry. Go
think
back to but go.
even even if he's behind it, I think so. That made me think of something. It was like you were asking, oh, he's not behaving like a Sith, and he's not really claiming to be a Sith. And a part of me wonders if that's where he's being manipulated into like, I'm a Sith. Like, have you watched like What We Do in the Shadows? You know that show, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Where it's like he wants to be a vampire so
I'm
bad.
a wizard. Sorry.
Guillermo. Guillermo wants to be a vampire so bad, and it's like, is Khmer being trained into being a Sith? But his destiny all along is to die, because that is whoever's pulling the strings knows he needs to die in order to keep the Sith hidden, the true Sith hidden. So he seems like an acolyte, like they're using him as an acolyte to the Sith, so that way his purpose is to die, but to fulfill the May and Osha being returned.
If
So
he's
the
if
the,
he's
the Jedi believe, oh, the Sith aren't really here.
if you're saying that it's something that's preordained and he's already accepting of that, then yeah, I can get that. I can dig that. No problem at all. If he still thinks that he is some sort of, I don't know, he doesn't want to be
Well, I
part
think
of a
the answer is
system,
yes.
part of a structure, and while that yes, sorry, yes,
No,
yes.
I think you're onto it. I think the answer is yes to all of them. I think he's been found as like a very angry young person who is incredibly powerful and has a purpose. He wants to unleash this ferocity and destruction on those who've hurt him and whatever. But I think that is being used, and his whoever's controlling the strings is going to kill him, make sure he dies to help cover up the Sith. But I think Khmer doesn't care. Like, I don't think he knows he's going to die. I don't think he cares about being Sith or whatever. He just wants to fricking hurt people, and that's where he's being used as a tool. Because when he dies, the Jedi are going to believe, oh, the Sith are dead. He wasn't really a Sith. He was just a
That's a
very
good.
angry, powerful
That's
person.
a really good point. That's a really good point because I was thinking of who am I thinking of? I was thinking of oh
Winter
come on,
Soldier.
no. I was thinking of Blade 2 actually.
Mm,
Um, I was thinking more around. Bear with me a second, guys, while I just look this up. I was thinking he reminded me an awful lot of um, Scud,
mm,
the character that Norman Reedus plays
yeah.
in Blade Two, and he's just a bit grungy, a bit cool for school, um, and doesn't really want to be part of an establishment, which is not a good apprentice. It's not a good
Yeah.
apprentice at all. So
You're a
if you're
tool.
saying that there is there is, whether he knows it or not, but there is one outcome for him, then yeah, I accept that a lot more than I thought I would. Because I was really struggling with the idea of him being a loyal apprentice to something that was of a higher order. If that makes sense.
Well, then
So
that would also
yeah,
justify the arrogance of, like, Kia D, and they're like when they're like, "Oh, it's Sith," and then he's like, "No, we're not doing this shit again. It wasn't a real Sith. He died. He was just a fanatic, somebody who was just angry and wanted to kill people. He wasn't like in his mind. He's like he's what they weren't Sith. We haven't dealt with real Sith in over a millennia, not
yeah,
knowing that even that was a pawn,
yeah.
and that there's
But
somebody
for the
that
but over the last couple of hundred years, we've dealt with these little upstarts that have been sort of force sensitive and been arseholes, and we dealt with
yeah.
it. And that, but they're not Sith. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you, mate. Yeah, no, it's
I'm gonna be so
yeah,
wrong. I'm gonna be so wrong, and it's gonna be hilarious that I just talked for 40 minutes about just complete nonsense, and
oh,
it's gonna be all wrong. And I love
dude,
it. I love this part.
I genuinely thought at so at my time this morning at 10:30 a.m. I finished watching this episode. At 11:30 a.m., everything that I thought I knew was completely out of the way, and I was about to record with the guys in Australia. Um, Bloody Josh got my hopes up that Mother Carl was still on the agenda, still on the gaming board. And that's made me think, well, maybe rather than thinking that she's the assassin, the shadow, the stranger, the, the she's the next level up. And so I'm probably wrong again. I blame Josh if I'm wrong again. But yeah, no, there's oh mate, it's not knowing is actually very, very cool. Very cool. And the fact that we were so fundamentally wrong as well last week. Very cool. Very, very cool.
I
I like this
like
show.
that angle. I like this angle because they're just I love the use of, like, emotional and manipulation and using people as tools for your larger cause, and
Yeah.
he's and Kamir just seems so he seems very, like, emotionally manipulative, like he's being abused that way and
Yeah,
being
yeah.
used as a tool, and he's trying to do it to them, but he doesn't realize he's small fries. Um, I just think that's so compelling of like and it's truly sinister. Like, I don't mean I'm like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of that. Like, let's all go do it." But it's like that just shows you the truly sinister nature of it, of like, no, they found him as a part of another thing the Jedi were doing, and he's very strong. And so, like, they've just molded him into being this, like, manipulative, emotionally broken monster, but they don't care for him, and he has no true purpose besides this one task. And he's so because that's what's crazy. He's so good at killing Jedi. Like, he's really good at doing it. He took on how many of them? 7? Just mop the floor. And so it's like, yeah, he's gotta die. And
Yeah.
they they just found a really strong tool to serve a purpose, and what is that purpose? I don't know. Uh, Mayanosha, clearly, somehow. But, I love it, dude. I love this show. I love for those if people out there don't like speculating, like, I'm sorry, don't listen to our show. That's the back half because this right here is why I love Star Wars, and this is why I love doing this show with you. It's like this is my Star Wars. It's not even necessarily canon. It's just the like, what do you think's gonna happen next? Like, get our creative juices going, and like that is the. And I think this has helped me identify that. I'm like, dude, speculation is like this is my bread and butter. Like this is why I besides the ships and the way it's made me feel like modern Star Wars is, and maybe that's why I've always pushed for like new timelines, new generations, because otherwise you're just fitting into the same mold of we know what happens, we know where it's going, which is fine. I still enjoy that Star Wars, but this is a different level of excitement of where are they going to take the storytelling, where are they going to take uh the ups and the downs, and who's the real villain, who's yada yada yada. This, I don't know, I love it, man. I love every second of this. So thanks for entertaining me.
No, no, no. I love it as well. I love it. Absolutely love it as well. And I'm. It's dangerous at the moment to kind of speculate because I
It's
don't.
dangerous to, it's
I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think I genuinely think.
I wish you guys could
Well,
see
I tell,
Andy
I tell
like
you
I
what.
can, because you
I
can
tell.
see him, you can see the gears turning, and I know that won't come across the pod, but I want to communicate it because you can truly see him just working
I
through it.
genuinely, I genuinely think, there is, you know, there is normally a very simple um, platform for us to speculate,
Mhm.
whereas here it can go absolutely anywhere, and it can go, and it should go absolutely anywhere because we've got no legacy, and we've got no commitment, or there should be no commitment towards the timeline in the future. I don't know, man, and this is the reason why I'm enjoying it. I mean, it might not be. Yeah, I mean, again, it's different strokes for different folks in so many ways. It might not be the best, the complete best Star Wars or production that some people have seen. Other people may well find the first four episodes a little bit flat.
Yeah.
Other folk may well be beholden to the canon and don't like the shake up of the canon, which, I mean, in my opinion, doesn't. I'm not quite sure. I think there are different. I think there are different things afoot there in those kind of circumstances. If they're going to get worried about other, simple minutia like that, uh, I just don't know where it's going to go. And I love the fact that today just turned me around because it did. I was trying so hard to be really quite clever, and I failed miserably as to how I thought Leslie was going to take this. Um, and then what she did, like I said, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but what she did was she gave us what we already predicted already, but we thought it was too obvious, and then opened up new questions by doing so. It's really smart. I really like it,
I think
and I
you have
hate
you're
the blood.
I want to
Sorry.
compound on what you said there, because I think that you just hit on something that I think is one of the most Star Wars things about Star Wars. And don't tell the mob where I live, but I think what you just said made me feel like the Acolyte so far as a whole, and like specifically this last episode, bringing it all together, is more Star Wars than I think most Star Wars that we've gotten recently, because the nature and the way I feel about this latest episode and where we're going forward has made, when it can make you not think about the acting or the special effects or the the different like little nitty gritty pieces of a show, but it makes you think about the story, and that is where your primary focus is, of like what's the story and where are we going, and you all the rest of that sloughs off. That to me is the original trilogy, because if the modern original trilogy came out now, people be like, the costumes look fake. I could see the zippers. Oh, because you know what? The acting in the original trilogy is dog water. But that's not what matters. It's the way it makes you feel. It's the story. It's the emotions it evokes. It's things like that, and that right there is Star Wars. To me, it's the
But
all
it's a
the
swash.
nuance. Just
It's a it's, Star, Star Wars is a swashbuckling adventure. It doesn't
yeah,
get any more complicated, especially when you consider the original, the OT. I mean, let's not try and get into some sort of higher level nuance as to what the intention was for the original OT. I mean, the OT
mhm,
for me is still the best and always will be.
yeah,
But it's a swashbuckling adventure that that goes from um, that goes through various stages of, in brackets, sorry, in air quotes, the hero's journey. It doesn't get any more difficult than that.
yeah,
Let's not. It's not Citizen Kane. I mean, for good God's sakes. I mean, it's not. It's not. I go to different movies if I want to feel a different way, or if I want to be inspired by the majesty, shall we say, of
yeah,
the art. It's. But this is what we're seeing at the moment is some really frigging cool stuff, and it
yeah.
makes me happy. So it doesn't get any more
Hell
complicated than
yeah.
that, I'm afraid.
Until next week when we respeculate all again.
Yeah, yeah. So on that point, um, I'm going to be away for a fortnight now. So I am going on my family vacation for 2 weeks. So I will be back with you, my friend, talking about the finale. 3 weeks from today. Hang on, one,
So,
two, yeah, 3 weeks from today. So I will not be around, but I promise you, I will catch up while I'm away. I am abroad. I have very limited internet, so there's absolutely no point in me joining any kind of streaming podcast or anything at all. But I'll try and watch. I promise you, I will watch the episodes as they land, and I promise you that I will send you by hook or by crook my thoughts on that particular week's episode. So for weeks, what is that? Weeks episodes 6 and 7.
so I just want to go ahead because I was going to ask you, are you going to watch them while you're away? I know you can't join
Oh
the
God,
pods or
damn, yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah, damn it, yeah, damn. Yeah,
So go ahead and
I'll
give my
bust my day
apologies
at
to the
that.
missus
No
because I
problem.
know because you're going to have to talk her ear off. Like you're not going to be able to keep this in. Like,
No, I'm not. Hence the reason why when I finished, I'm gonna send you a voicemail.
oh, okay, that makes sense. That's fair.
So that's the plan. The plan is, and I hope I manage it. Bearing in mind, I've got no idea what to expect in terms of internet connectivity or indeed mobile phone coverage, because all I'll be taking is my phone and not my laptop. Um, I will try my hardest to give you send you my thoughts, and then whatever you guys decide to, or whatever you decide to do while I'm away is really up to you, mate.
I'll tell you, if you send me a 2-hour voicemail, do not expect me to cut that into usable components.
Well, unless you just post it.
I'm about to say I may just post it, like, but I'm not gonna go find the nuggets. You
Excellent,
send the nuggets or send it to our voicemail and expect that to get posted because that's probably what would
excellent,
happen.
excellent.
I genuinely thought
Right,
this was gonna be a
buddy.
short one today. I thought it was gonna be
I
short.
genuinely thought this was going to be a short one as well because we had no news, we had nothing that we've watched or seen in 3 days. But honestly, man, and we're only talking about an episode that was around about. We worked it out this morning. It's around about 28 minutes worth of actual airtime, and the rest is all credits or intros. I mean, for such a short period of time, they squeezed so much in. But secondly, the content was wicked, absolutely wicked. So I'm really chuffed. Really, really chuffed. And I'll speak to you. I'll speak to you anyway, but you know what I mean. I'll speak to you in a
Yeah,
formal capacity in 3 weeks.
yeah. Until then, I wish you luck. Be safe. Enjoy your holiday. Don't get connected. Stay off of Twitter. Stay off of work email. Stay off of Teams. Uh, and
I
enjoy the vacation, man. You deserve it.
will do, buddy. And look after yourself, and lots of love to you guys as well. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay happy, look after each other. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.